All right, ladies and gentlemen, now moving on to our next segment. For our next segment, we have a design thinking, creative automation, and UX design top notch honcho. Let's give it up for Mr. Vijaybahu Joshi, Associate VP, Head of Experience Design, Reliance Jio. With a big round of applause, can we have Mr. Joshi on stage with us? Mr. Joshi, even before you'd entered, like before you stepped onto the stage, no, please come on up. We've understood something about you is that you are a man of absolute fundamentals and basics, right? You just mentioned 5 minutes back. So, a question, super short, super brief. What do basics and fundamentals mean to you, and why are they so important?
Basics are the core governing, you can call this the default software of anybody. So you need to know that to put up another software on top of that.
Like I said, right, getting technical people to speak non-tech is difficult. I still stick to that. Fantastic, Mr. Joshi. An absolute delight, and we are absolutely waiting to hear you more. Thank you. Stage is all yours.
I need that. How do you? I just need a little help. Move ahead is this one, and move back is this.
Yes.
And that's a problem interaction. Am I the only designer in the room? It seems so. Okay. Good morning, all. Thank you so much, Exito, for putting this up together. Thank post-pandemic for almost 2 or 3 years, we were really waiting to meet a lot of people, and this is the first, I think, stage which I'm sharing almost after 2 or 3 years. So thank you so much, Exito, for doing this together. I traveled from Pune, especially for this event. Now, one quick disclaimer, this is a very different session. You can also term this as little weird in nature. You won't have seen something like this in the past, and it normally draws up a lot of attention sometimes. Few people get upset. I've witnessed people leaving the room as well. That's normal, right? So with this little context, I'll set up this session. One thing is for sure, for few of you, you'll remember something from this, and this is not my doing. Due to destiny, I have traveled this particular path. It's nothing to do with the work which I currently do at Jio, or maybe in the past 25, 27 years, what I have done. But you will carry bits of it possibly for next 10 to 20 years. Now, once you do that, just think back and reflect back that this is what you can possibly do in your organization, and this is not hard selling. These are just fundamental concepts that I've traveled due to my destiny, and I'll welcome you all for this particular session, and let's begin. Now, this session is effectively about human biases, and the human biases are formed. There is a lot of academic angle to this particular, sorry, I'll just put up my timer so that I don't overshoot. Yeah, there's an academic twist to this. So human biases are formed effectively due to human emotions. That's one of the fundamental traits. And this session is only about how does, this is like a shocker, okay. How does these emotions travel? Like, if this happens again, maybe I switch this off. Okay, I'll stand on that corner. I think that will be a little effective. So I'll keep on going ahead. I think there's a bit of a disclaimer. Again, this is my personal journey, nothing to do with the work. And let's see how this goes with all of you. Now, there are two ways to take this session. One is prejudice and one is skepticism. I'll just spend a bit of a time over here. So there are two parts to prejudice. So there is a positive prejudice. You feel very strongly about an idea, and other is you don't feel very strongly about an idea, and we normally get a little overwhelmed with emotion when we come across topics like this. This session is effectively about people who are a little open to learning, and there is a bit of a gray space in between, which is called as skepticism. Now, the problem happens is by 21, most of your viewpoints are formed, right? So if you are in this particular space, it's fine. Otherwise, if you are on the green space, congratulations. I mean, possibly you'll hear something for the first time, which is kind of a connected idea session where you always felt, hey, something like this existed, but nobody spoke on the stage, right? Is there a fair understanding about the session? Okay, I'll go ahead. Now, the session has effectively 4 parts to it. I'll start with the story, and then we'll understand the crux of the story, then we will dissect the story in terms of how does the emotion travel, And I'm again sorry, this is a little more academic. You possibly were expecting some case studies. It's nothing like that, right? And then what can we do about that emotion? Can we really stop that? And the last bit is what could be an interest to you is when you as leaders form your team, how do these emotions affect your final product development? Correct? Is this the context ready? And in between, I will ask some questions, and you need to be a little more interactive. I understand this is the first session of the day. We are all in business suits. One of my colleagues pointed out you should, tuck in your shirt when you go on the stage. And I said, no, I'm fine as a designer, possibly, to go ahead and, present like this. Okay. So I'll start with a quick story. The story is a true story. It started with Brahma Kumari Foundation. I was attending to one of the lectures where I was informed about a diamond merchant who was there as part of the camp at Mount Abu. And he was constantly having dreams, and he was a rich diamond merchant from Surat. He was constantly having dreams that he's begging for 25,000 rupees and he's not getting that. And he was roaming in different streets. And he was constantly having these dreams for 3 or 4 days at a stretch. He got a little quizzed and he thought possibly this is my future. And he approached one of the Didis, what we call as in Brahma Kumari. And he said, Didi, I'm facing this problem. Is this my future? And Didi couldn't answer then. Then the same Didi incidentally met one of the cooks who used to cook for that particular group who used to participate in the meditation session. And Didi asked her, why are you so worried? And the cook was really, really worried about something. And she said, Didi, I'm trying to arrange 25,000 rupees to shift my house, but for past 1 month, I'm unable to do that. And with the same thought, she was cooking that meal every day. And that thought, in a way, invariably transferred to the food and to that man, right? So that's the premise of the story, and let's see how this proceeded. Yes, one question does arise over there is, like, why did all of them did not get the same dream? Why did one particular man? And that's the nature of inquiry. But here is this one situation where a cook was cooking something with a sect of data or emotion, and that got transferred to the food. And that when the man ate the food, he started having the same dreams, right? Now, I'm scared. I think I should get away from there. yeah, that's better. Now, how do we receive message? So I'll show you. I guess I need to have the regular mic, maybe. Can we have the regular mic as well, just in case this doesn't work properly? Yeah. Okay. Now, how do we receive messages? So the first was where an idea got transferred. The second is I'm showing you a picture. Just be a little interactive to tell me what exactly is the message that you get. Quickly, I think I'll start with Nikita first. First one on the left. What is the first message that we get? Tense, anger. On the right, let the male community answer. No, that's being too polite. Okay, I'll come to the point. Okay, this is not a motherly feeling. This is certainly a different kind of a feeling, right? So here, nobody said anything, but you still got the message. That is called as a non-verbal medium, right? So the first is a verbal medium, the other is a non-verbal medium. In between that is an extrasensory one where I think the first story is partly connected with, where nobody said anything, but still the message got transferred. Please hold with me. I understand, what this session is doing in CX because we are connected to consumers and we create products and we expect them to behave or possibly feel in a certain way. And I'm part of that journey over the last 25 years. So just bear with me till for next, I think, 13 minutes, right? Now, let's go deeper into the extrasensory part. And this is another story. He is one of the Reiki gurus who started the Reiki entire movement in the world, Masaru Emoto. And very sweet story. He was part of a village where he shared water with another village. So the village community shared water with another village, and they had a classic conflicting, the same what happens in India as well, where the village used to fight over the share of a water. So one village side got into meditation, and they started giving thoughts of love to that water which the other people were drinking. And gradually over a period of time, their war kind of diminished, and the two villages started staying in peace. So I'll show you a few slides again here. This is a water crystal experiment. Some of you would have gone through that, in which the first is the water with a hate feeling, and the second is with a water with some kind of a love feeling, and there are various factors. So that was on the left-hand side. What you have is the first water, which is without any feelings, and when the village got into meditation and they started charging the water, they reached the bottom right part, which is love and appreciation. So water reacts to human emotion, and there are various experiments. There is a love and hate experiment on rice as well. You can possibly go through that online as well. So this is one area where the emotion got transferred. Now we'll go to our own classic theory. Does emotions have colors, right? And this I'm referring to the 4th century Natya Shastra. This was part of my research work sometime earlier. And in 4th century, somebody dissected there are emotions to the color. So if you see on the left hand side, all the emotions which are darker in tone, they are slightly heavier in nature. Now this is how humans express. So there is furious, repulsive, terrible, right? And on the right hand side, you have something like the hasya, the comic, or the heroic, or the shanta bhav. So any human being, when it went to these kind of cycles, invariably the body emits these radiations. And there were people in the past who used to see that with their bare eyes. So just quote over there, I was very happy to, as a couple, we are very happy to be a part of an organization called as Swadha Woodolf Learning Center in Pune, where there are teachers in the primary gate, they're able to see these colors. Because through their years of rigorous meditation, they have reached a point where they understand the child, what kind of an emotion the child is going through, and whether the child is now ready to go into the next phase of development. But we lost most of this. I'll connect this beautifully in the end, not a problem. So this is now the 21st century construct. There is an organization in Delhi called as Reiki Healing Foundation. They worked on a principle which is called as Kirlian photography. I don't know if you've heard of that, where you can scan the aura of a human being. You'll be surprised to find the resonance of these colors in a human body, but now with a digital photography. Now, moving ahead, so it's like, in very simple, if somebody is very angry and they give you a water, that's a water on the left. And if they are in slightly, more peaceful mind, and then they're providing you water, they're on the right-hand side. This is how you also understand. This is called as a hot soil or a cold soil. And if you are part of a community where a lot of wars have happened in the past on that particular land, invariably what happens, that land soaks up that particular charge. And when you step on that land, you will also get that kind of a charge. I see a lot of serious faces. Right? But this is something you can't run away. Of course, we can't see this. Hopefully, I think at some stage, we will have this technology coming with wearable glasses, and you will be effectively able to see all that factor, right? Now, another experiment on transfer of human emotions was done by, again, Brahma Kumari Foundation. It's called as yogic farming. I'll be a little brief about it. So what they do is, they sit in the field, and they talk to plants, insects, rodents, and they provide them with some kind of energy. Instead of killing them, they just ask them to politely leave my field, and that's what has been happening. They charge the seeds for about 2 or 3 months, and there are deep meditation processes. There are a group of people who charge and provide that intention to those seeds. They talk to the seed almost like that they are babies, that they can actually grow for humanity. They can go and serve and heal somebody. This is the feeling that they actually give to a lot of the seeds. Then they sow it. And then throughout their entire cycle till harvesting, they keep on talking to plants, animals over there, such that there is a good healthy environment. But why this story here? So they conducted a ROI experiment, and this was by Kanse Ramsey. What they did was, they had organic, regular chemical farming, then organic farming, and then yogic farming. Now, the people who were selling food through yogic farming, they didn't know why their product was selling. So if you have got 3 lots of its potatoes, on the extreme left you have the one with the yogic farming. Invariably, people were drawn to this lot and they bought this. The advantage of this was, it was 1/3 of the investment with respect to the chemical farming. Now, the person buying it and the person who's selling, they themselves don't know, but since that product has been grown with a lot of love and care, people got attracted. And I hope, I think you also know about this as people. There are certain people who get attracted. You feel quite comfortable when you sit next to them, right? And sometimes you just feel like getting up from this particular person and just running away. You don't like to be together, right? Now, one warning. This is again extra, I would say, sensory. Don't search this on internet on your own. This is my strict kind of a humble warning as well. This is not from the dark web, but this is a dark area. And while you're searching for this, it affects your psychology a lot, because this was part of the research work I had to do that. and my spouse reported that that entire month I was extremely agitated and angry. I didn't know why. Again, the same story of the potatoes, grown up with love versus grown up with a lot of labor. So quick info on that part because we are running short. So living silent notes are nothing but two entities where I take my nervous system feedback, give it to, let's say, Nikita. If I raise my hand, she will also raise her hand over there without she knowing that she is raising her hand. This technology is used a lot for interviews now. You have devices which are plugged in onto your nervous system. So there's a professor who's sitting in the other end listening to the student who's sitting far away in a different remote area and answering the question. And this boy who's preparing for the interview is also answering in a similar manner without his own nervous system or feedback being deployed. That is called a silent. Since these are the process where one input of a sense is provided to the another input. So suppose you are on a diet and you want to taste samosas or potatoes or anything, but you don't want to put on the calorie. So you hear a sound, and the sound gets translated inside the nervous system, and your tongue starts feeling the taste of a potato or a vada pav. So one sense is transferred as another sense to another kind of feeling. That is called synesthesia. The last three bits are slightly scary. They were tested a lot in the Iraq war. Please don't search them. They travel on frequency wave. That is called as silent sound spectrum, the forest technology, where you as an audience on a frequency wave which your nervous system can't comprehend, digest something like moments of depression, anxiety, or anger, and you suddenly feel like that you need to commit suicide or something like that. But why you feel that, you won't know. Your nervous system will just process it because it is beyond a certain range. You get that frequency, it's processed, and you start having those harmonic feelings. That is the mind control method and the silent sound spectrum. Again, talk to me offline. Like if you want to know more about it, we have very less time on this. Right? Now, why do we need to care about these unseen emotions? Right? You as part of the fraternity might be just thinking, I'll quickly take you through an image, and you just need to see that, and I'll ask a couple of questions, and this is where your nervous system performance comes into picture. I'll just go ahead a little later. This is the experiment I was talking. I'll show you a picture and just move it. I know this is getting serious. I'll come down on the stage. Okay. What did you see in that image? Okay, quickly. What else? What is an urban context or a rural context? How many people are approximately? What was the vehicle? Car or bike? Was it a daytime or a nighttime? Daytime. Kids were wearing some school dress? Yes. What was the uniform approximately?
White shirt.
Was the vehicle driving left to right or right to left?
Left to right.
Okay. Anybody wearing a helmet?
No.
Okay. Now, see the beauty of human brain. There is so much of data that you process in a very, very less time. So what we are coming at, that these things carry to you, and you don't get time to process it. If you go on and on this, you possibly spend half an hour dissecting, right? That what image that you saw, depending on the data that you carry, that got processed so easily. So we don't have control. So two factors, these messages, they travel in extrasensory medium, that's one. Second is, they travel through water. That we saw, we can't control that because water has a memory capacity. Please go and read online. It has a memory capacity, it records data. And in few cases, the data gets recorded over 20,000 years to 8 days. It depends on the kind of data which has been captured by water. And our body is 68% water. We need to be slightly careful about it as well. Now, why this processing happens so fast? Just watch it. We have a component in our body which is called the limbic brain. It only functions for a security. There are three components: food, threat, and reproduction. If you don't eat, you will die. If you don't protect yourself from a snake, attacking you or a tiger, that's why we still have this. In the night, you are, just about to sleep and you hear a tus sound. Immediately you wake up because that is the limbic brain, 24 hours, trying to protect us. And the third is, of course, reproduction. If you don't reproduce, we will also die. You can't change this. This is fundamental for every species, right? Now, adding everything that I think we are going to put on time, possibly we can possibly take one or two questions as well. Okay, messages and feelings, they can travel through verbal, non-verbal, and extrasensory, right? In the case of I would say non-verbals, it's very important in extrasensory to consider the factor of water because it's a recording, it's a data recording agent. It can also travel via Wi-Fi and through other mediums which are unseen by eyes or even possibly comprehended by the system, right? And then you react accordingly. Now that's the last bit. Now I'll take a little pause. I think I've rushed through a lot of it. Do you know the convention that we had to take part and then enter into lecture? Right? This was there because you used to do a movement change in your life, freshen up, and when this freshen up feeling gives you bodily feeling, this is not about one culture. I'm fundamentally talking, this is fundamental to any culture. Right? You create that vibration and then you used to give to the food. That's why you pray before you food, irrespective of the company. Right? And one quick story, in the olden days when people used to study in Gurukul ashram, suppose they are creating a lot of nuisance. So from the rasa theory, there is a particular emotion which is getting a little overwhelming in the compound of that Gurukul ashram. Then all the teachers used to meditate together and create a shanta bhav or the peace bhav. Because then when students will enter, they will invariably get that kind of bhav. Now that's the last part, I'll just move ahead now. From your CS development, this is a very important point. You need to question what soil your team is made up of, right? And conclude in that, right? What upbringing they have at a fundamental level. You are running possibly an adventure camp, right? And you have people in your team who are not adventurous by the latent soil, because that's a kind of upbringing they have. They really could experiment that in their life. And once they actually create product and they are at the front line selling things, it really happens. Right? This is basic fundamental. Right? The last slide of the game. Now, if you have baby products, it's a clear answer. You need a certain color in your environment. You need certain kind of people who are very close to human life. If they prepare and they sell, your sales from the yogic experiment, you can't control your sales. It will invariably happen. You don't even need a marketing people. Right? And that happens a lot with startups. In the initial euphoria, they are kind of, fresh from the college. They are happy to know each other. They are just fresh in the world. They are creating that product with lot of enthusiasm, free from fear, right? And most of these startups, they achieve some kind of success. But as they grow in their life, they get married, right? The karma sinks in, the problem starts happening. So if 50% is the ashanta bhav which is there on the floor, and then we started pushing the sales team and the marketing team to sell more, but the fundamental lies in the product itself, right? Thank you so much. I understand it's a very different session. If you have questions, please put yourself in this quadrant. I think it's gone, which is prejudice and skepticism. If you feel something like this existed, well and good, we can talk offline. If something like this didn't exist, I can't convince you. That's not my job. But if it's a skeptical question, I'm happy to